In the Russia-Ukraine war, Ukrainian forces successfully used the FPV or the first-person view kamikaze drones targeting Russian tanks with pinpoint accuracy. What's been a very exciting journey for soldiers and students alike in India is the fact that Indian Institute of Technology engineering students collaborated on this project right from the drawing board to battlefield deployment. And it's happening in a record time. This is truly something to be proud of and a sign perhaps of times to come. Joining me on this India Today special broadcast are Air Marshal Anil Khosla, former Vice Chief of Air Staff. Also with me is Group Captain Augustine Vinod, both former fighter pilots, and Group Captain Vinod's also a drone pilot and expert. Air Marshal Khosla, I want to begin by asking you, sir, India has showcased, whether it's swarm drone technology or loitering munition, DRDO's Nagastra 1, for example, all of that technology has been showcased. But does production scalability remain a challenge for us? And what steps should the Indian defense ecosystem take in your appreciation, whether it's DRDO, private firms, army, to match perhaps the rapid innovation cycle that we've seen in Ukraine, for example, or in other countries, to make this Make in India project successful and scalable?
Yeah, you're very right. The modern warfare is actually all unmanned platforms warfare. That's where it is heading with MUMT concept, that is manned-unmanned teaming. And in air warfare also, the drones are coming in a big way. And drones we use in a very, very generic term. The drones, small drones to big drones to quadcopters to fixed wing with very long range endurance, with heavy payload to small payloads, tactical to micro to, so drone is a very, very generic term. But the fact which you brought out is very, very relevant. One is the utilization of drones in the warfare. And second is having a developed ecosystem of your own for self-reliant and indigenization, which is a very, very essential. And this ecosystem has worked very well in this case, which you highlighted, where the user, the developer, and the manufacturer all have coordinated with each other, and it has been a success story. So similar thing we need to develop into our ecosystem of other drone systems, which so far we have been lagging actually with the DRDO doing some research, and some of the projects have been lagging. But now with the private sector also coming in, I think it is picking pace. And also the government which has been given is making it pick up pace.
Group Captain Vinod, is this exactly what our armed forces need? From the drawing board to the end user, technology that's needed in the battlefield today, delivered in months and not years.
Absolutely. In fact, 6-7 months ago, from the Rising Star Brigade, one of the brigadier contacted me. And probably next time with his permission, I'll tell you his name as well. So I want to believe I had a little bit of hand in this. We submitted all that we had pro bono to them with permission to go ahead with whatever they want to do with the design as well as the ability to take it further. Be that as it may, Gaurav. But let's come to the technicality of this whole thing. See, in a anti-tank munition, you've seen traditional anti-tank munitions, which are extremely expensive.
Yes.
Not only ATGMs, even the guided missiles, which were initially employed during the Ukraine-Russia war, which found its way to they were sold in black market, and they were found, I believe, in Mexico and Colombia as well. But if you compare that with this particular weapon, which you're showing on the screen and that is behind me, there is a lot of difference technically. First and foremost, it is like a loitering munition looking for the target. B, the speed is variable. C, you don't have to have the target info when you launched. You don't have to look at the target when you launched. You can launch it, then look for the target. And most importantly, and very good thing that TBRL, with the capability of TBRL, what they have done is to remotely arm the weapon, which in Ukraine-Russia war, we saw in some cases that it took out the launcher themselves because that kind of safety protocol was not in place. So once India does something, we do it properly, be with a lot of safety in mind, so that the frat is, eliminated or reduced because us being firstly careful country and be a democracy. But what
Absolutely.
really brings to fore, Gaurav, is the survivability of the tank has been in question for some time now. If you look at most advanced tanks also today, they are in the Ukraine-Russia war we've seen, they are working with some kind of a tent on top of their head.
Yeah, or a cage.
It's
But I'll
like a
come to that
house.
aspect. Yeah, I'll come to that aspect in just a moment. For the moment, I want to stay on the Kamikaze drones, Air Marshal Khosla, that offer perhaps that cost asymmetry also, which is so significant. A couple of $100 for a drone or this loitering munition, taking out a multi-million-dollar tank. But then it also requires mass deployment for impact. Now, in a country like India, looking at both our borders, how should India balance investment in these low-cost systems versus traditional platforms like, we were to talk about artillery, our ATAGS, ATAGs or fighter jets, or, there are budget constraints, there are diverse threats, state actors, non-state actors. So are we to invest more in drones now, sir?
As I said, the drone warfare is the future of warfare, and you need to invest and do a balanced act. It's not question of either one or the other. You need both because both have their advantages, both have their disadvantages, both have their capabilities. So you have to balance out in terms of numbers and money, as you said. And this FPV or loitering ammunition or kamikaze drones, the suicidal drones, these are a family of drones which are low cost, high yield options, high impact options. So the effect created by these is much more than at the lower cost. These are obviously low cost options for countries with low budget, which has got asymmetry with the enemies, and also these weapons can be used in an urban sort of warfare or terrain which is difficult. So, like in our scenario, all these things exist. So, to my mind, we need to invest them, and have a large number of these available with us, and that too indigenous.
Oh, perfect point. In fact, I'm just coming to some of these points you've raised because the diverse battlefield that India fights in. But Group Captain, we know this India on the right track. Take the product, test it, use it. In case there are niggles, sort them out, keep upgrading, keep improving. And doesn't that help the domestic industry and the nation's growth story in defense manufacturing? Will a story like this enthuse more players to invest? And does that look good for India's drone industry?
You got it right on the money, Gaurav. Three aspects I want to cover. Point number one, this is just the beginning of, we breaking off from other shackles of import. So this is just the start. In fact, with this as the stepping stone and an example where the fleur-de-lis or fleur-de-lis, whether you're English or French as you pronounce it, the two in-depth armored brigade from Meerut has done, is something that will probably be a test case for others to follow to indigenize many other weapon systems, which I have strongly felt even when I was informed to not to buy, but to go the indigenous or in-house route because we have such brains available within the uniform. That's point number one. Point number two, Gaurav, is this particular weapon has the great limitation in terms of video feedback. So you can fly it, say, 5, 6, 7 kilometers with no problem. But the moment you go into dive, you will lose the video feedback. So unless you don't have the video, the FPV goggle wearer who's also the pilot, he doesn't have the video feedback, he will not be able to execute an attack. So 90% of these drones, when they go into the attack mode, they lose the video feedback. So what do you have to do? You'll have to have a relay drone in place, which Ukraine did it through is the relay network which Elon Musk provided, which also
Yes.
probably I think went away when Trump came into power. After that, you would have seen this particular attack profile sort of diminish. So that shows us that there is a great amount of limitation when you employ such weapons. Therefore, Air Marshal's point of having a mix. So mix is a good thing.